This guy didn't get caught. He didn't leave behind some big mistake. He wasn't even being hunted by police. One day, he walked into a police station and calmly said, "I've killed a lot of people, and I think I'm done now." And here's the part that makes this worse. Years earlier, the state already had him locked up and decided to let him go. At 15 years old, Edmund Kemper killed his grandparents. Edmund Kemper grew up in a deeply broken home. His parents divorced when he was young, and his relationship with his mother was toxic from the beginning. She was controlling, emotionally abusive, and constantly reminded him that he was unwanted and a burden. By his teenage years, Kemper was already showing disturbing behavior. His mother didn't want him around, so she sent him to live with his grandparents on a remote ranch in California. Isolated, angry, and stewing in resentment, he spent most of his time alone. In 1964, while sitting in the kitchen with his grandmother, an argument started. To Kemper, she suddenly became just another authority figure trying to control him, just like his mother. That was enough. He went to his room, grabbed a rifle, and shot his grandmother. Then, to be sure, he stabbed her. A short time later, his grandfather arrived home. Kemper didn't want him to see the body. He walked outside and shot him in the driveway. Afterward, he called his mother and told her exactly what he'd done. She told him to call the police. He did. At 15 years old, he was arrested. Doctors examined him and concluded he was mentally disturbed. Instead of prison, he was sent to a state psychiatric hospital for criminally insane offenders. And this is where everything went wrong. Kemper wasn't just intelligent, he was calculating. His IQ tested in the genius range, and he quickly realized something important. His future depended entirely on convincing doctors he was cured. So he studied them. He memorized psychological tests. He learned exactly what answers sounded healthy. He mirrored remorse without actually feeling it. For years, he played the role perfectly. Calm, cooperative, insightful. After 6 years, the state believed him. At 21 years old, Edmund Kemper was released. Because his crimes were committed as a juvenile, his record was sealed. Officially, he was a clean slate. No warnings, no restrictions, no one knew what he'd done. He moved in with his mother in Santa Cruz, the same woman he blamed for his misery. Living with her reopened every wound. She constantly mocked him, belittled him, and told him no woman would ever want him. He tried to rebuild his life. He applied to become a highway patrol officer but was rejected because of his size. At 6'9" and over 300 pounds, he didn't meet the physical requirements. Another rejection, another reminder. Then he was injured in a car accident and couldn't work. By 1972, something inside him snapped. Kemper began picking up young women who were hitchhiking. At the time, this wasn't unusual. He'd done it many times before without incident, but this time he didn't take them where they wanted to go. He drove them to isolated locations. He restrained them. He killed them. Afterward, he brought the bodies back to his apartment and committed acts that made it clear this wasn't impulsive violence, it was about power and control. When he was done, he dumped the bodies in the mountains near Santa Cruz. Instead of guilt, he felt relief. Kemper later admitted that killing made him feel calm, like releasing pressure built by years of hatred toward his mother. And that realization created a pattern. Whenever arguments at home escalated, Kemper went hunting. Over the next several months, he killed again and again, sometimes with a knife, sometimes with a gun. Each time, the violence escalated, but the motive stayed the same. At one point, he buried a victim's head in his mother's garden. Another time, he brought bodies into her house while she was away. This wasn't random, it was personal. In 1973, the final line was crossed. One night, Kemper was asleep in his mother's home when she returned drunk from a party. Before going to bed, she made a sarcastic remark, dismissive, cutting, familiar. Hours later, while she slept, Kemper entered her room with a hammer. He struck her. Then he decapitated her. He placed her head on a shelf and spent nearly an hour talking to it, saying everything he'd kept inside for his entire life. At some point, he threw darts at it. But even that wasn't the end. The next day, Kemper invited one of his mother's friends over for dinner. When she arrived, he killed her too. Then he took her car and started driving east. Somewhere along the road, something unexpected happened. The urge stopped. For the first time, he felt no desire to kill again. The person he blamed for everything was gone, and with her, the compulsion vanished. What replaced it wasn't relief, it was guilt. Kemper pulled over, found a payphone, and called the police. He calmly confessed to being a serial killer. He admitted to murdering 10 people. At first, police didn't believe him. Eventually, they did. Edmund Kemper was convicted of 8 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. He requested the death penalty. The court denied it. He is still alive today. Not because the system stopped him early, but because it misunderstood what it had released.